This may not be one of the most impressive Windows phones, but it is beautiful. It's called the HTC Radar and is available at T-Mobile. It is by far one of the best designed HTC phones yet. The solid aluminum body sends a powerful message of quality. The white design stands out from the crowd and looks amazing. It even has a front-facing camera, just for the hell of it. This is the HTC Radar from T-Mobile. As you can see, the build quality of the phone is fantastic. Unlike the HD7, the buttons on the phone feel solid, and the entire phone feels sturdy thanks to the aluminum unibody construction. The phone is a good size, and while it is a little heavier, you don't mind the extra weight since you know it means the phone is built so well. It is also thinner than the HD7, coming in at 0.43 inches. The unibody construction does mean that you can't remove the battery, but that's not too big of an issue thanks to the 1520 MHz battery that easily lasts you through a day or more of use. The SIM card is nicely hidden in a bottom compartment on the phone. One of the biggest disappointments about the Radar is the small 8 GB of storage space, which means that you'll have less than 6 GB of usable storage when you first open the phone. As you can see, there's no storage card slot on the phone anywhere, meaning that you're stuck with this tiny amount of storage. The screen is also not that impressive. The Radar supposedly has a Super LCD screen, but the screen is disappointing when compared to last year's Focus with a Super AMOLED display. It's still tough as ever to see the screen in daylight, and is basically as bad as a normal LCD screen. Colors are slightly more powerful, but the difference is definitely not worth paying for. Continuing with the disappointments, the phone lacks a gyroscope and doesn't include a wired headset for some reason. Also, the phone only has a single-core 1.0 GHz processor. However, this processor isn't the same one that's in your old Windows phone. This is the second generation Snapdragon, which also includes a new Adreno 205 graphics processor. These components actually make the phone slightly more fluid when scrolling through certain apps. Also, the 3.8 screen size is perfect for almost everything. Unlike those bigger screens, you can actually type one-handed with ease. Typing with both thumbs is also not a problem since the screen is still decently big. Overall, the build quality of the phone is superb, but some of the specs are pretty disappointing. Nevertheless, if you don't need a lot of storage space, this phone is a great choice and is also pretty cheap.
Every day I'm shuffling.
The call quality of the HTC Radar is excellent. Unlike some of HTC's other phones, they're often too quiet in the earpiece, but this one's actually loud enough so you can clearly understand what the other person is saying. And the speakerphone is also really excellent and comes through really clearly, and we had no complaints about our call quality on the other line.
Press 3. For mailbox options, press 4.
So overall, it's a great sounding phone for talking on the phone, which is what a phone is for, you know? The speakers on the phone also play at a pretty good volume and is comparable to the HD7, but the quality of the sound is better. And the quality of the sound over headphones is possibly slightly better than the HD7, but it's not as impressive as a standalone media player like the Zune HD, possibly. Nevertheless, the sound quality and music quality on the phone is pretty good, and the call quality is definitely improved. And that would be something worth upgrading for, because the HD7, which was what I personally owned, had a terrible earpiece. You could barely hear what anyone was saying. That was terrible. This improves on it a lot more. The camera on the Radar is one of the most improved parts about the phone. Let's go take a look at some sample shots. We first took a picture in this environment here using the HTC Radar and the HTC HD7 as a comparison, and also with the camcorder that you're watching this from, in order to have a basis to compare from. And what we found is that the HTCs still lack in color saturation, and they don't look as vibrant as it really does in real life, and it fails to capture the true colors of the scene. The detail of the shots was also really equal between the HD7 and the Radar, because they both do just have 5 megapixel cameras. So overall, in distance shots like this, there's really no benefit in the HTC Radar right now. We also took a picture looking up at this scene here, and both HTC phones lacked the true quality of the color of the picture, but otherwise detail-wise they are once again the same. However, the HTC Radar shows its true colors, literally, when we take pictures of these very colorful flowers. When looking at the pictures of the HTC Radar of these flowers, the colors come through as far more accurate and come close to the quality of the actual camcorder, which is a lot better. However, both phones failed to catch the true color of this red flower, and they showed up more as pink, which was a little disappointing. Nevertheless, the Radar begins to shine when you look at the shutter speed of the phone. You can quickly snap a picture far faster than you can with the HD7. The phone also has some cool new modes like panoramic mode, and burst mode. The panoramic mode typically turns out some pretty impressive shots, but can occasionally have some weird artifacts in the pictures. And the burst mode is really helpful if you're trying to catch an epic moment or some crazy jump that your friend is trying to do, a crazy stunt, anything. That mode really comes in handy. Plus, the camera is a ton better in low light situations. Typically, HTC phones are terrible in low light situations because their frame rate becomes ridiculously low for some reason. But HTC finally learned and included a better sensor on this, and it actually takes decent pictures inside, and can take decent videos in indoor lighting when it's very dark. It's still not up to the Samsung focus quality for taking those videos, but for taking pictures, it's definitely up there and doesn't get that annoying shake when you're trying to take a picture and you don't have it perfectly steady. So that's the main improvement, and overall the camera and video quality is definitely worth paying for, I'd say. The software on the HTC is excellent. It is of course running Windows Phone Mango, so it's extremely fast and snappy, and it has multitasking and is overall a great interface, definitely comparable to the iPhone, and it's definitely as smooth. That's the biggest difference there. Android phones, they can be laggy of course, and they also can be unreliable with updates, but the Windows Phone is silky smooth and runs perfectly, and updates actually are released to basically all the devices. And in addition to the default Windows Phone Mango on the phone, there's also a bunch of HTC apps that they include. Like, you can actually use a flashlight on the phone, whereas Samsung, they usually don't have a flashlight, so you can't use the back LCD as a flashlight. HTC releases a free flashlight app that lets you use that LCD. And as you can see, it's pretty bright. It's not as bright as the HT7's dual LED, since this is only a single one, but it's a nice difference. And there's also auto flash modes and a bunch of other different things you can play around with that application. There's also the HTC Hub, HTC Watch, Locations, Connected Media for streaming DLNA media, the Tango video calling app, which is really available for all Windows Phone smartphones, but HTC has their version there. Photo Enhancer if you want to touch up some of your photos, a converter to convert numbers really quickly, which is really helpful. All these are free, by the way, no need to pay for anything. A Notes app, a Lists app, HTC Calculator, which that one's kind of useless because the Windows Phone calculator is already pretty good. But overall, there's a lot more stuff that HTC adds to the phone. And inside the camera app, you also have those modes that we demoed, like panoramic and burst mode. And the camera actually has face recognition, so it'll automatically focus on people's faces too, which isn't built into Windows Phone. That's something HTC added. So overall, there's a lot of huge software benefits there. And the battery life is also a ton better thanks to the new CPU processor. So it's running the 2nd generation Snapdragon processor, and it is only at 1.0 gigahertz, which is slower than some of the new ones, but the battery life is exceptional. It's also got a 1520 mAh battery that's built in. It isn't removable since the phone has a solid aluminum body, but it lasts a lot longer than other phones would. With the improved battery life and all the great features of Windows Phone, this phone is a great choice for anyone who's looking for a phone that's simple, easy to use, yet has tons of apps and games and a bunch of things that you could want. If you're a superpower user, then you might have fun with Android because you can customize it like crazy. But if you're just a normal person who needs to use their phone for actual work, Windows Phone is definitely up there. You got Office Live and a bunch of other things to help you through everything. Overall, the Radar isn't the best phone out there, but it is quite good. If you can get past the hardware drawbacks, like the small 8GB of storage space, 1.0 GHz processor, and the lack of a gyroscope, the phone is actually quite perfect. The 3.8-inch screen size is ideal for most users, the build quality of the phone is spectacular, and the camera has significantly improved from before. Samsung still may have the upper hand in some sections, like camera and screen type, but overall the Radar is quite a nice device. You can find the HTC Radar in your local T-Mobile store for $99 on contract.